At Jellicles' farm, where the fields stretch wide, lived two clever crows with feathers of pride. Edvard was daring with a glint in his eye, and Esther was sharper, her wit flying high. But the grumpiest soul on that sunny farmyard was a goat named Gruff, with a head like a shard. He'd huff and he'd puff, he'd snort and he'd glare at anything feathered that dared to be there. "Look, Edvard," said Esther, "it's grumpy old Gruff, stomping around like he's had quite enough. Let's follow him closely, as silent as air, and tickle his whiskers with a crow's clever flair." So they swooped and they dived, they cawed and they danced, while poor Gruff the goat gave them nary a glance. He clambered through brambles and shuffled through hay, as Edvard and Esther called, "Make way!" "Stop squawking!" Gruff bellowed, his horns giving shakes. "I've no time for mischief or bird-driven fakes. I'm guarding the garden, I'm minding the shed, so leave me alone or I'll butt you instead." But crows never listen, and teasing's their art. They perched on his horns just to give him a start. With flaps and with squawks they made such a show, poor Gruff stomped his hooves and began to bellow. "You pesky black feathers, you noisy old pest, you rattle my patience, you ruin my rest. Fly off to the trees or that scarecrow instead, before I toss hay right over your heads." But Edvard just chuckled and Esther did grin. "For a goat you're quite charming when you're this chagrined. We'll leave you in peace, but don't fret if we hover. We tease you, dear Gruff, because you're like a brother." And off flew the crows, their laughter a song, while Gruff muttered, "Feathers, they'll pester me long." Yet deep in his heart he felt something more, for friends even teasing can never be a bore.
At Jellicles' farm, where the sun meets the hill, lived Gruff the goat with an ironclad will. The animals knew, from the sheep to the duck, that once Gruff decided you'd run out of luck. Gruff don't climb that the farmer would bleed, but Gruff climbed the tractor at lightning speed. Gruff don't chew that the cat would meow, but Gruff munched the scarecrow's old straw hat somehow. Gruff said, "The crows, you're as stubborn as stone. Why must you do things in your way alone?" Gruff snorted and grinned with a stomp of his hoof. "I'm just built this way, and I've plenty of proof." One summer morning the animals spied a rickety gate on the pasture's far side. The farmer had locked it to keep Gruff away, but Gruff had a plan that would ruin her day. "I'll open that gate," said Gruff with a snort, and he charged at the latch like a goat at a fort. The sheep rolled their eyes, the ducks snorted why, but Gruff wouldn't stop till that gate said goodbye. He butted and pushed, he rammed and he kicked, while the crows perched above, feeling slightly conflicted. "Gruff, give it up, that gate's locked up tight," but Gruff only snorted, "Not tonight." Hours went by and Gruff still wouldn't quit. He pawed at the ground, determined and fit. The farmer appeared with a laugh and a sigh. "Still at it, old Gruff, you're a stubborn old guy." But just as she spoke with a final great thunk, the gate flew wide open, the post split and sunk. Gruff bleated with pride, "See, I've won this fight. Persistence is key, and I know I was right." The farmer just chuckled and patted his head. "Your stubbornness, Gruff, could wake up the dead. But next time, my friend, use your strength for good, and maybe I'll let you snack on the wood." So Gruff learned a lesson, though stubborn he stayed, to use his persistence in more helpful ways. At Jellicles' farm, his will remained true, but now Gruff's stubbornness helped others too.
At Jellicles' farm, where the green things grow, lived Gruff the goat with an appetite. He munched on the weeds, he nibbled the hay, but also ate veggies the farmer had sown that day. The farmer threw up her hands in despair. Gruff eats my flowers, he just doesn't care. He gobbles the lettuce, he chomps on the beans. He's chewed through my daisies and even my greens. Edward and Esther, perched high on a post, heard the complaints and decided to boast. We'll fix this dilemma, we'll help him reform. For what are two crows if not clever and warm? They flapped to the pasture, they swooped to the shed, where Gruff was busy with a cabbage head. Stop right there, cried Esther, you're out of control. Do you want the farmer to put you on parole? Gruff blinked at the crows, his jaw full of kale. What's the big fuss? This garden's my grail. I eat what I see, it's all tasty to me, from roots to the fruits on the farmer's fig tree. Well, Gruff, said Edvard, it's time for a guide. We'll show you the difference, so open your eyes wide. Weeds are for chewing, but flowers are dear. And veggies, well, they're what the farmer holds near. So off went the trio with cores and with bleats, pointing at plants Gruff was allowed to eat. This one's a weed, cried Esther with flair, and this one's a carrot, you'd better beware. Chew dandelions, Gruff, they're tasty and free, but leave the tomatoes to grow on the tree. Munch on the thistles, they're perfect for goats, but hands off the spinach, or we'll take a vote. Gruff listened and nodded, his tail gave a twitch. He chewed on the weeds, which were scratchy and rich. The farmer, surprised, saw her garden thrive, and declared Gruff's the best goat to ever arrive. So now Gruff the goat eats with great care, with Edvard and Esther flying everywhere. For a goat who once gobbled with reckless delight is now Jellicles' farm's appetite. Night to night!
Jellicle Farm, where the stories abound, Gruff the goat was the best gossip around. He knew every tale from the barn to the tree, but lacked a companion as nosy as he. One sunny day, as he chewed on his hay, he met a bold bird, cheeky Scrub Jay. Good morning, chirp Jay, with a sly little smirk. I've got juicy news about Blinky at work. Blinky the owl, Gruff's ears gave a twitch. That grumpy old bird with a feathered itch. What's the scoop? Come on, tell me, don't tease. So Scrub Jay leaned close and whispered with ease. They say, said the Jay, he's afraid of the night, and won't hoot a word unless there's moonlight. He hides in his barn when the stars start to glow. Imagine an owl afraid of the show. Gruff belated with laughter, his horns gave a shake. Who knew Blinky's bravery was just a big fake? But wait, Scrub Jay, do you know something more? What about Myrtle Mouse from the pantry floor? Oh, Myrtle, said Jay, she's a sneaky young dame. She swiped all the cheese, then blamed May's name. Poor Rabbit was hopping in circles all day, until Calvert Croakley leapt in to say, Myrtle's the thief, I saw it last night. Then she vanished in shadows, right out of sight. Gruff gasped and he chuckled, his tail gave a wag. This gossip's so good, it's the best kind of brag. Come, Scrub Jay, let's find some more tales to unfold. The farm's full of stories, both juicy and bold.
So off went the pair, the goat and the jay, gathering secrets from dawn until day. They spied on the ducks and their synchronized splashes. They peeked at the crows with their shiny stash caches. When night fell, they whispered while stars lit the sky. Did you see May teaching frogs how to fly? And Calvert Croakley crooning a tune. The toad sings love songs by the light of the moon. From that day forward, the farm animals knew Gruff and the Jay were a gossiping crew. But their chatter, though cheeky, was kind at the core, for they shared every tale with a laugh, nothing more. At Jellicles' farm, their friendship shines bright, two mischief makers who turn whispers to delight.
Jellicles' farm, where the fields bloom wide, the animals gathered, quite sore and tongue-tied. Eldermother, they cried, we've a dreadful affair. It's Gruff, that goat, he's beyond repair. The wise Eldermother, with her mushroomed hat, sat on her stump and said, well, imagine that. What seems to be wrong with dear Gruff today? Does he climb too high or nibble away? Oh, nibbling's the least of what Gruff gets to do, said Blinky the owl with a frustrated hoo. He chews through the flowers, the fruits and the vines, and yesterday ate through the farmer's clothesline. Myrtle Mouse squeaked, the carrots are gone, and the cabbage too, oh, it's such a con. Why, the other day, I heard quite a rumor that Gruff tried to eat the farmer's old mower. The mower gasped Eldermother, her brows raised high. That goat has a stomach as vast as the sky. But what else, my dears, what more has he done? Surely he doesn't bother everyone. Well, now he's a gossip with that scrub jay, croaked Calvert the toad in his gravelly way. They cackle and chatter from sunrise till noon, spreading farm secrets like an old harvest tune. And he's rude, squawked Esther, her feathers in flurry, interrupts us at dinner. Oh, he's never sorry. I can't enjoy court without him butting his head, demanding my snacks like he's king of the shed. Eldermother sighed, her patience not thin. Poor Gruff, she said, doesn't know where to begin. His hunger is endless, his manners are few, but gossiping too. Oh, what shall we do? So off she went, her cane tapping the ground, to find the great goat with his antics unbound. Gruff was with Scrub Jay, laughing with cheer, while chewing a boot he had found near the pier. Gruff, said Eldermother, her voice calm and steady, it seems the whole farm is already quite ready to find you some manners and teach you some grace, before they all chase you right out of this place. Gruff looked sheepish, his chewing now slow. I didn't mean harm, I just didn't know. I thought tires were food and flowers were free, and gossiping, well, that's just fun for me. Well, my dear goat, said the wise Eldermother, it's time to learn kindness and care for each other. You'll leave the farmer's flowers and veggies alone, and save your gossip for the crows by the stone. As for your hunger, there's plenty to munch. Weeds and old thistles, there's always a bunch. But respect the farm's rules, or you'll find your delight will cost you your friends by tomorrow night. Gruff nodded and promised to give it a try, and the animals watched with a hopeful eye. At Jellicles' farm, peace bloomed once again, though Gruff's still teased Scrub Jay now and then.
At Jellicles' farm, the animals cried, "It's time for a rodeo!
Let's saddle and ride."
And who was the star of this daring display?
Why, Gruff the goat, as wild as hay.
With a snort and a stomp, he stood in the ring.
Let's see who can ride me, give it your swing.
First came the duck, perched light as a feather.
But Gruff bucked
Once she flew off like the weather. Next was the rabbit with ears held high. "I've got balance,
I'll give it a try."
But Gruff did a twist, a hop and a leap, and the rabbit flipped off in a tumbling heap. The crows tried next, two at a time. "Surely we'll win, our balance is prime." But Gruff spun around with a victorious bleat, and they landed head first in the farmer's wheat. Last came the cat with a smirk on her face. "I'll tame this goat with elegance and grace." But Gruff gave a wiggle, a buck and a snort, and the cat went flying, much to her short retort. The animals laughed as Gruff stood tall. "The rodeo's over, I've beaten you all." With a flick of his tail, he strutted away, the untamed king of the barnyard's day. With a flick of his tail, he strutted away, the untamed king of the barnyard's day.
At Jellicles' farm, when the day turned to night, Gruff the goat gazed at the moon's gentle light. No chewing, no gossip, no mischief or bleat, just Gruff in the meadow on his favorite seat. He stared at the moon, so round and so high, and wondered aloud, why is it up in the sky? Does it watch us down here with its silvery glow? Does it care what I eat or the places I go? He thought of the stars, how they twinkled so far. Do they whisper to the moon, there's Gruff by the barn? Do they wonder if goats feel the pull of their beams, or if we're too busy with hay-eating schemes? Gruff scratched his horn on an old wooden post and muttered, what's life if not chasing a ghost? We nibble, we graze, we climb and we leave, but what do we leave when we all go to sleep? He pawed at the ground, his brow deeply furrowed. then looked to the moon as his thoughts gently burrowed. Does the moon wax and wane just to keep us in time? Or does it change shape with no reason, no rhyme? And what of the weeds that I chew without care? Do they feel sorrow? Does the grass despair? Perhaps every leaf has a song in its veins, and each root feels joy when it drinks from the rains. The barn cat appeared with a yawn and a stretch. You're talking to shadows, are you feeling perplexed? Gruff blinked at the cat, her tail swaying slow. I'm wondering, dear cat, what we really should know. The cat purred amused with a flick of her ear. The moon's just a moon, my philosophical dear. It doesn't watch goats or the weeds that you chew. It's just there to glow, nothing more, nothing new. But surely, said Gruff, there's more to it all. The stars and the moon, even leaves when they fall. If life's just a cycle of nibbling and play, why do I feel so much more on this day? The cat rolled her eyes, though her purr didn't cease. Fine, Gruff, let me share my small piece. Perhaps the moon glows because it just might, to show silly goats how to think in the night. And maybe your grazing thing is part of a whole, feeding the world with your wandering soul. But pondering too long will just make you snore. So get some rest, Gruff, and don't wonder more. Gruff chuckled and lay in the moonlight's soft beam. His thoughts turned to stars and a soft, dreamy gleam. At Jellicles' farm, where the moon waxed and waned, Gruff dreamed of life's wonders, forever unchained.